Are world leaders really 53% on the win rate? Are we really that good to be deserving of that winning percentage? Is Games Workshop going to nerf us in a couple of weeks when they drop that data slate? Nobody knows. I have no insider information, but I can tell you this much. On this episode today, we're going to break down stat checks and check exactly what's going on with our competitive list. And we're going to jump into a few winning competitive lists around the world with world eaters and see why they are doing so well. Check it out on Onslaught Gaming 40K, and this is Ops, episode 18. All right, and welcome back, everyone. So let's take a deep dive into stat checks. And I've already gone to the metadata dashboard to check out the world leaders and already plugged in the information on the player faction just to make this go a lot smoother and faster for us all. Just want to quickly show you that world leaders currently are at 53% win rate, but the player count is only 299 individuals. Currently, on a 4-0 event start, we are at 7% at 299 individuals. So not quite high, right? Not a lot of people are actually going 4-0. This can also be in a lot of different types of events. This can be doubles, 8-person, 5-person, and singles. So this can be an evolution and collaboration of a multitude of different things. I really think, in my thoughts, and this is really what this video is going to be about, is that world eaters are doing very well in teams. If anybody has seen any of my previous videos, I did really well at a teams event, an 8-person teams event, and I ended up winning best general overall for the entire event. First place with world eaters, went undefeated, got almost a perfect score throughout the entire event. I only dropped 1 point out of one of the rounds. So if you look, our numbers are very low also on event wins, meaning we've only won 6 events in total. That is not a lot, especially out of 1,702 games played out of 299 individuals, right? So these numbers really tell me that they're really all over the place. We don't have any 7-game wins. We have 6-game wins. 2% of the 299 individuals have actually been able to do that, right? I think in teams play, world leaders are dominating. I think in solo play, like most of you who played the game with world leaders, know that world leaders can't play into every single army. You really have to be very methodical, very smart, very well endowed, and have a lot of experience to play against every single army, especially with Admech coming on the rise, with Thousand Suns, with Tau, things that really hinder our ability to do very well. Yes, you can walk into participants that are not as good, not as experienced, and do very well against them if you're a more experienced World Leaders player. But that's not always the case, especially if you're trying to win a GT, right? You're always going to be playing against someone who's your same skill level, or that individual might be better than you. So just wanted to show you real quick what stat check says, right? 53%. I really hope that Games Workshop doesn't take this percentage as it being the end all and be all of what we are as world leader players. I think that the army itself has a lot of difficulty going into those armies that I just previously mentioned, the Tau, the Thousand Suns, and the potential AdMech that's coming up as well and on the rise. So hopefully they don't take that in complete total, and they're taking it as, hey, they're doing really well when they're their opponents are being selected and their matchups are in their favor. But most of the time, if it's not in their favor and they're playing against a certain army that's their yin to their yang, they're not doing very well. So let me go ahead and show you a couple of competitive lists that have been doing very well. Two of them, they're going to be from an RTT, both second and third place, and two other ones from team events where they did very well, went undefeated, and reigned victory at all these events. So just a quick little plug, shameless plug, real quick to a tournament event location. I don't know the tournament organizer here. I actually don't know where this is located other than it's located in Georgia. I'm in Florida, so it's a whole different location. I've never been there before, but I know what it is to be a tournament / community organizer and a head judge. So I like to give those individuals their credit. But this place and this event is called Gotta Have Moxie. And this was a September 40K RTT. Actually, I was told about this event from someone who did very well at this event as well. And I asked that individual if they had any world leaders, and they said they actually did. A world leaders player who went 3-0, did very well. As you can see, it's Mike Bridgman from the club Visions Core. So we're going to go ahead and check out his list real quick. All right, so this is Mike Bridgman's RTT 3-0 list. He came in second place. Once again, I don't know where this location is at other than it's in Georgia, but this individual did very well. And I kind of wanted to share some competitive lists with you, harping back to what my intro was all about is what exactly is going to happen, right? Why are we at 53% win rate? Is it RTTs? Is it GTs? Is it team plays? What's exactly going on? Why are we doing so well in some of these events? We might actually be going up to some favorable matches, right? At least in my history of playing World Eaters, we have a lot of matchups that are not in favor of us winning those, right? Once again, Tau, Thousand Suns, depending on the list, obviously, right? And AdMech can be very, very rough. Another one I want to throw out there is Death Guard. If you have Nurglings, if you have Typhus, if you have armies that fight first before you and impede you from doing that, even Tyrannid's Vanguard Detachment, where they can jump around and advance in charge with a lot of their units, and you get smacked by a Broodlord and 10 Gene Stealers with advance in charge, and you only have a 3-man 8-bound unit or Berserkers, it can kill that entire unit with no problem, right? So let's see exactly what's going on. Let me give you my thoughts on these lists real quickly so we can try to figure this all out. And hopefully Games Workshop doesn't nerf us in a couple of weeks when that new data slate drops. So Angron, obviously, he's an auto-include, right? Lord Invocatus. Actually, I've actually taken him out of my list as of recently. I'm actually going to go to DreamHack, where I'm going to be enjoying myself. You know, DreamHack is like the Toys R Us of all Warhammer gaming and all types of gaming. So it's going to be very fun. It's going to be an experience of a lifetime. So I'm going to be going there with seven other individuals on an 8-person team. I'm going to obviously be the resident World Leaders player. And I'll do a video in a couple of weeks of my list going to that event. And hopefully, like I did 2 months ago at the Gateway Open, I can go undefeated, do some 20-0s, and do really well. So Lord Invo, World Eaters Master of Execution, actually 2 of them. Of course, he has a Berserker Glaive on one of them. This is really the only enhancement that is really good in our army. I know there's some of you who still believe in a lot of the other enhancements, like the Helm of Iron Ore and the book and things like that, where you can try to do new blessings, things like that, you know, the favorite of Corn. They are really expensive. They only work for certain situations. They're not always great. Berserker Glaive works all the time, and it's rather expensive, so it should work all the time. So this individual has 1, 2, 3, 4 So he has 30 berserkers, which is very interesting, right? I usually don't run berserkers at all in my team play. I only run 8-bound, Corn Lord of Skulls, Angron, Jackals, Spawn, of course, right? The basics of what the army is. We don't have a lot of data sheets to really go around and have some more variety and flavor to them. But berserkers are something that obviously I want to play a lot. I want to play a lot of them, right? But I've seen in a lot of my games playing them that are not solo play, they die very fast. Even in solo play, they die very fast if you don't position them correctly. If you don't have rhinos to put them in, things like that. You got to be very, very smart with the berserkers. If not, you can die very fast. So that's 2 fight first. I'm assuming he's putting those fight first, the Moes into the 2 bricks of 10 and the other 2-5 just to go around and take objectives, maybe rapid ingressing them, deep striking them, or I'm sorry, rather strategic reserving them because they don't have deep strike, but strategic reserving them, things like that. So he does have 2 rhinos, which means he's only taking 20 of them in the rhinos with the Moes. He also has 2 units of regular 8-bound. I am not the biggest fan of regular 8-bound. If I'm going to choose between the 2, I'm going to take Exalted. But I can kind of understand why he's taking regular 8-bound. Probably because our points are very weird. You know, you've tried to build a World Eaters list before, and our points can get very weird where we're under like 60 points or we're over 5 points. It puts us in a very weird position on how our units are pointed. So he also has a spawn unit, and interestingly enough, he has a Terminator squad. So I've been seeing a lot of people breaking out the Terminator squads. They're really good for World Eaters. Obviously, there are better options and different factions for Terminators, but apples and oranges. World Eaters are very good, especially when you're giving them extra movement, +2 movement. Right, Terminators become very fast, super resilient. When you have the ability to give them a 6-up feel no pain, helps them out slightly. Right, if you have a 10 Terminator model squad, essentially you gain 1 free Terminator. Very, very good. It can skew up to 2 free Terminators, so 6 wounds, things like that. Very nice, very standard for how he has it kitted out. The cursed weapons, all of them actually have the accursed weapons with combi weapons and eviscerators. He also has chain glaives, which is a new one. So very interesting to see chain glaives on the champion. I have never taken the chain glaives. Obviously, it's a lot more attacks, high AP, but it's only 1 damage. So there's got to be a reason for why he's taking the chain glaives. Maybe he's just going for extra amount of attacks with sustain. Maybe that individual is going to tech into that, right? And it's just gonna hit you with a ton of attacks, especially when you have 30 berserkers, right? And if you're smacking into armies with 30 berserkers, 2 units of 8-bound with chain glaives, some modes for fight first, you're guaranteed to fight first just about 98% of the time. This individual is really teching in to just killing you with sustained hits and attrition. A multitude of attrition, just tons and tons of attacks, right? Getting in there with Angron potentially to give everything around you 6 inches, a reroll to hit. That would be absolutely amazing. I'm assuming that he's taking the Terminators just to sit on an objective markers while everything else is taking objective markers from your opponent, killing everything as fast and quickly as possible. I mean, 48 attacks coming from the Berserkers without the Mo, only 48 attacks if you're taking 2 Eviscerators in that unit as opposed to 50 with the chain axes, chain blades, right? Can be very devastating, can put a lot of damage into units, and it's a lot of attacks, especially when you do sustain hits. So, nice list. Kudos to Mike Bridgman, who came in 2nd place at this RTT. Did very well, was undefeated, and would like to see how much further this individual can go. So here's another list from Gotta Have Moxie. This individual actually came in third place. Shout out to Tobias Ackers. And see, this is what I was telling you about 1980, right? 20 points off. And because he has all epic heroes, well, two of them actually, and taking enhancements on the other two that are not. The Mo obviously is going to take the Berserker Glaive. The DP is going to take the Helm of Brazen Iron, right? Which is a decent choice to take it on the DP, right? If you're going to take it, you're going to take it either on the DP or you're going to take it on the Lord on Juggernaut. So this list is a lot different. He actually has Karn the Betrayer, Lord Invo. It looks like he has no Angry Ron. Very, very interesting. I love when people build lists like this without Angron. It's super interesting to see how effective they can actually be without Angron. Angron is so good for his points cost. He punches up. If you could ever bring him back just once, essentially he's half of his points cost, right? At 415. So he becomes essentially what? 207.5 points, right? Amazing model. Punches up very high toughness, amazing abilities. You guys all know already, right? We know all about Angron. I don't need to preach to the choir. So he has 2 Jackal units. Like it. Loving it already. 2 Berserker squads, but just a 5. All right, so he only has 10 Berserkers in here. So he's definitely putting Karn into one of those units, right? He's probably putting the other one into the Rhino with Karn and the 5. And, yep, definitely has a Rhino. Also has regular 8-bound, 2 units of those. Does not have the Chain Glaives, has the regular stuff that we take, right? The Lacerators on the Champion on both squads. He has the paired Chain Fist on the Exalted 8-bound squad of 3. And then he has an Exalted 8-bound squad of 6 with the paired Chain Fist as well. Usually the options that I go with as well. If you try to go the Anthony Vanilla route, just like he did at WTC, where he went with every weapon, with each weapon, where he had 1 Chain Fist and 1 Eviscerator on the Champion. I can kind of understand where individuals are coming from. He's coming from, right? You can kind of play every single role and attack into any unit. You have that variety to do that. But I really like the 2 extra attacks when it comes to the paired Chain Fist, and I just do the paired Chain Fist all the time. I think it's just way better. But that's my opinion and my thoughts. And also, this individual has 2 Hell Brutes, right? So everyone knows that Hell Brutes have Frenzy. Frenzy just gives you the ability to go out there. If you kill a unit, you get to continue to fight. If you have units that you can kind of consolidate into, they hit you back because they got to fight back. Then you return the kill or you return the hits back to them, hopefully killing them. And then you can do like a daisy chain throughout someone's entire army. I envision Tau every time I see this, because Tau is always very close knit, castled up all together, right? So I always envision Tau. Maybe it's just a Tau dislike. I won't say the H word, right? The hate word. That's very strong. But I envision Tau just dying in groves, blood for the blood god, skull for the skull throne type deal, right? Not to be super nerdy, but aren't we all super nerdy here? Yeah, so I really like this list. I like the Jackals. Jackals are just going to hold objectives. Berserkers are just going to go out there and fight things. He has a Master of Executions in 1 unit. Karn for the other unit of Berserkers. So he's going to have 12 in that transport. They're going to jump out, fight first for 1. Karn the Betrayer is going to be an absolute torpedo with basically 10 wounds to add on to him before they can hit him, obviously without being precision out. Jackals, once again, are just going to hold objectives. And then he has the Hell Brutes to go out there, be ultra aggressive. And he has all of those 8-bound to go out there and just delete units and take objectives away from your opponent. So I really like this list. Once again, I would like to say, I hope Tobias Akers does very well in the future, and I would really like to see where that individual lands in any GTs and anything else. All right, so those were the two solo competitive lists. I really like those lists. I hope they continue to do very well for us and continue to get skulls for the Skull Throne. Take as many as you can possible. And here we're going into teams. This is all called Summer WahaFest 2024. I don't know exactly where this is located. Let's go ahead and look real quickly. This is in another country, Magba, right? And almost 200, almost 200 individuals, 192 of them. The biggest Russian team championship now in BCP. I love it. Wow. Russia is doing it up. Amazing, amazing stuff. Almost 200 people. That is great. I didn't know they had a population that played Warhammer 40K so large. I might have to go out there one day and check it out. So this team event, there was a World Eaters player who was completely undefeated. He only came in 9th place, but still, I kind of wanted to show you guys and girls some lists that went undefeated. They were doing very well with World Eaters specifically and only, right? And see exactly what they have in their list and go all the way around the world and see what everyone's doing. Give me 1 second. I'm going to break down the list. All right, so this is the first teams list, and this is Igor Narki. Shout out to Igor for doing such an amazing job. This is not a GW list. This is actually the new recruit, which I actually love very much. Anyone ever want to check out how to use the new recruit, I have a video in my YouTube channel. Check it out. It's in the World Eaters playlist. Make sure to go check out how to use new recruit, and where I break down 3 army lists on there as well, showing you how to use the new recruit and a couple of ideas of how to build out a couple World Eaters lists. But anyways, so of course, because we only have one detachment, the Berserker Warband. So he's taking Angron, of course, for 415 points. And like I was telling you before, right, he's essentially 207.5 if you can ever bring him back. So you get to have two incredible characters that can do just about anything, can flip about just any tank in the game, or 2 of them at the same time, like I've done several times. Lord Invocatus, Karn, and a Mo. Of course, the Mo comes standard. Should come standard, right? With the Berserker Glaive, if you're going to take any enhancements, because you can't take them on any of the epic heroes. 2 units of Jackals, standard, the Skull Smashers, Mauler Chainblade, Icon of Corn. Of course, just like any Jackals unit should be kitted out. You always want, the most important things, right, is the icons. 1 unit of 10 Corn Berserkers and 3 plasma pistols. Very nice. So I'm going to go on a limb here, because this is the only way you can really kit it out, is the champion in a unit has a plasma pistol, and then 2 other models have a plasma pistol. 2 Corn Eviscerators. Of course, the icons on both of them, so you can try to get Angron back or try to manipulate those blessings. And he has a unit of 5, 2 plasma pistols in those. I don't want to have to repaint my guys or break my guys' arms off. I should have thought ahead of time, but I would love to run plasma pistols in mine, but because they're not WYSIWYG, and they probably never will be until I get the laziness out of me where I want to paint up, 5 or 6 more models to put plasma pistols on them, mine will always be without plasma pistols. But I do take Eviscerators, 100%. And he has 2 Rhinos, which is interesting. Obviously, he's taking it for the 10 and the 5, but I don't know if it's worth the points to take it for a 6-man squad that includes a character, right? But it might be. I mean, you obviously want to have Karn in a transport, because if not, starts killing your own models off. So standard combi weapon, Havoc launcher, might as well take it. It's free. 1 unit of 8-bound. Champion has the Lacerator. The Exalted 8-bound, 1 unit of 6, and 1 unit of 3, both with paired Chain Fist and the Chaos Spawn. I actually like this list a lot. This is actually something that I would play in solo play, which is weird because he's actually using this in teams play. But he went undefeated out of 192 individuals. So he either had an amazing captain to give him great matchups as an attacker role, but have the ability to really go into armies that are favorable for him to get matched up into, or he's just an amazing player and did very well against every single army. So I really like this list a lot. I like his options. I usually like to take a couple of more 8-bound units, but having 12 of them is actually not a bad idea. Taking some more Berserkers and some more Jackals with all of those characters to kind of enhance your army is really nice. So Jackals are going to hold objective markers, of course. Berserkers, 1 for the Mo, 1 for Karn, and I'm assuming is the 5 model count for Karn. You never really want to put them into the 10. You really want that fight first for the 10. So it depends, though. Depends who you're going against. If you're not going against a close combat army, right, and you don't need that fight first, you're going into a tower or something like that, you might put Karn into that 10 model unit. So you can get all of those extra attacks and re-rolling ones to hit and re-rolling ones to wound, right? That can be very brutal, especially when you stack that with sustained hits. So, and if you can get Angron around there, you get re-rolls of everything to hit. So it can be very, very, very strong. I like this individual's list very much. I hope to continue to see Igor do very well in the future. So as you can see, I think there's some kind of things that are kind of hinting to us, right? That in teams play, they might be doing a little bit better than they are doing in solo play. Solo play, obviously, there was Moxies where they had second and third place. This one is in 9th place for team play. Went undefeated out of all of those games, right? But I think that if you can get the right matchups for World Eaters, you can go a lot further. And that's what I'm saying. Those are my thoughts, right? I think you can go a lot further. You can win 5 rounds, 6 rounds, 7 rounds. I think there's a hard stop, just like we were looking at Stat Check, where if you only have 3 rounds or 4 rounds, right, it really starts to dip after the 4th round or at the beginning of the 4th round and the 5th round, right? You're not really winning a lot of GTs. There was only 6 people who actually won complete events, first place. So that's bigger events. So in team play, they seem to be doing a lot better. And I'm going to show you one more at another big event across the world. And we're going to go to that. All right. So here's the last list, competitive team list that I wanted to show you all. This is the other WTC Wellington Team Championships. This is actually in New Zealand. Okay. And this had 50 players. Tournament organizer was Steve Joel. 5 rounds, 2,000 points, WT style pairing. All right. So pretty normal when it comes to things overseas, not in America, right? And I love looking at all of these lists, right? It really doesn't matter where it's from. The meta may not be super similar, but they're going to be relatively close, right? People are playing a little bit of everything. As you can see, Blood Angels came in second. In America, Blood Angels are doing very well as well, right? But over here in New Zealand, World Eaters took first place, baby. So congratulations to Matt Von Wilsch. So from the veterans of the Long Black, right? Taking first place with World Eaters. And we're going to break down Matt's list right now. So here we're at it at the last team champion who won first place out of 50 individuals at a teams event in New Zealand, Matt Von Wilksch. Sorry if I'm slaying that last name. I know. But love the title. There's only enough room for one Matt in the VA LB. And see, once again, we always get into these weird points. 1970, 30 points left over, right? We need a decrease somewhere. I don't want to say increase because we don't want that, but we need a decrease somewhere. We need a decrease with our enhancements. We need something. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, we should be paying for war gear, maybe getting that extra war gear and stuff like that. Nah, that's out with the old, right? We shouldn't be paying for the war gear. That's a story for another day, a topic for another time and video. But really gets weird when it's 1970. You feel like you're not getting everything you should be getting at 2,000 points for world leaders, right? So in this list, he has Angron, of course, as his warlord. He has Karn, Lord Invul, and the Master of Executions. Very, very unique, and strangely enough, this is how it used to be before we got the big nerf a couple months behind. But he's actually taken the favorite of Khorne on this one. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So he has one unit of Jackals. So I'm assuming he's just teching in to try to get that Blessings roll, right? And I've kind of taken a look already at the list, and I think I know exactly why this individual took the favorite of Khorne. It's not for Angron, I don't think, because he doesn't have enough units to really manipulate that. He doesn't have the Khorne Load of Skulls. He doesn't have multiple Jackal units. And he only has 4 units with icons, right? So he has one Jackal unit, obviously with the icon, Skull Smasher, the Mauler Chainblade, 1 unit of 10 Berserkers. He has the icon, double Eviscerators, of course, some Plasma Pistols, very nice. So he has 3 of them, 1 in the champion. Another unit of Berserkers, kitted out the same way as the second unit. Oh, so he has 2 10, 1 5. So he's taken most likely both of them attached to, each of them attached to one of the characters. So both of them being attached to a character, which is going to be Mo and Karn, of course, and then 1 unit of 5. He has 1 Rhino, which could only mean one thing. Either this individual is very ballsy and is running Karn with 10 or 5 models on the tabletop, or he's got Karn in the Rhino with 10 or 5 models, right? And living by the fight first from the Mo on the tabletop, which is something that I would kind of go into. I'd rather go with the latter of what I just mentioned, where I'm putting Karn in the Rhino with 10 guys. I would do 10 models, right? And I would put the Mo with the other 10 models on the tabletop and putting them on an objective, or put them on the mid board, hiding behind a wall, and say, charge me, right? I'll even go within that 1 inch of the wall. I'll hug the wall so you can come and charge me so I can get that fight first and try to bait people out. Remember, this game is very cerebral. So you got to either try to bait people out, get them to do things that they don't want to do, get them to spend their CP. If you've ever played against me or seen my games or anything like that, I try to get people to burn their CP all the time. I want you to recycle those secondaries right at the beginning instead of getting a free CP at the end of your round. I want you to use your CP for rerolls, like a reroll to wounds. I don't care. Kill my single model or kill 2 models, right? I want you to get rid of all of your resources. That way, when I smack you, I have all of my resources. I have all of my buffs up, all of my auras, and I can do some real work, right? So be very cerebral. Be very cerebral, especially when you're playing with world leaders. So this is rather interesting. Very, very weird list, right? Congratulations to him with doing it with this type of list. He has 1 unit of 8 bound, so 3 of them. 1 unit fat pack of 6, exalted 8-bound, and he has the paired chain fist, of course, and an exalted 8-bound unit of 3 with the paired chain fist as well. And this individual won first place. I really like this list, and I think that this individual was very, very cerebral, right? Or had a very good captain to put him in position to do very well throughout the event, especially it being a WTC style team event. Matt did very, very well. Obviously, he took Angron. He can put him in position to support mid board, things like that. Lord Invocatus making those exalted units. Scout, right? That's a lot of things scouting at you, jumping at you, potentially turn 2. As I like to play it, if you like to play it where you're charging turn 1 and you're able to invest your units like that because people are just giving you their units and they're deployed on the front line of their deployment zone, take it, right? Take that gamble. Try to kill all those units at the beginning of the game. And it looks like that might have been something Matt actually did. But I like this list. I love all World Eaters lists. I mean, I think there's some weird ones when you start throwing in there some uh, some birds and things like that, or too many Terminators, right? Or where you're throwing in predators and things like that. That can get a little bit weird. Soul grinders, like that could get very weird. But if you're doing very well with those type of lists, hey, send me a message. Let me know how well you're doing. I wish you nothing but the best. And I'm not gonna hate, right? I love anything World Eaters, so let me know. So he's got a lot of scout going on here, of course. Rhino. One Rhino is very unique, especially when you have 25 Berserkers. So, yeah, very interesting list. Congratulations once again to Matt. Obviously, he had what it took to win first place at this team's event and his solo pairings, right? Or placings, rather. So, congratulations to him. I'm going to kind of give a breakdown of what my thoughts are of everything that's going on, like I talked about in my intro. So, give me 1 second. Yeah, so thank you to everyone who hung out with me while I looked over stat checks, right? And I shared my thoughts with you about what's going on with our 53% win rate. Is it solo play? Is it really teams play? I really think that a lot of it, the bulk of it, is teams play. As you can see yourself, you can go on stat checks. I'm not going to delve too much and show you too much of that, but you can go ahead and check them out and see exactly what's going on. Break it down to what the exact event was and who's doing so well. And 6 participants who've actually won in an event overall with World Eaters. Hopefully, I'm one of them at the Gateway Open. I know I checked there yesterday and I'm still there as top placing. So they do have the Gateway Open where my first place best general was allocated to one of those scores. Also, where we did a competitive list and analyzation, right? And we broke down 4 of them, 2 of them being solo from Moxies, 2 of them being from across the world, one of them being New Zealand, the other one being from Russia, right? And how well they're doing. The Russian one was in 9th place, New Zealand was in 1st place. And see how well World Eaters are really doing. Are we really that good? Or are we just skewed in teams play, right? Is GW going to take away all the things that we have with this 53% and try to nerf us down into 50%? Like they've always stated, where they want most of us to be around that realm of 45 to 55%. Do you think and foresee a data slate nerf to us World Eaters players? Hopefully not. I'm really hoping for the best. I'm not thinking that we're going to get any buffs whatsoever. I just think we need extra units when a codex drops. I think we need more options. We need to have a plethora of more things to take in our army to help us in those skewed situations. And if you watch my previous video, right, Ops episode 17, I have a wish list where I talk about with Daniel Walker exactly what we might need. And I break it down to you in a presentation showing you what are our thoughts for the future codex. Go ahead and check it out. I'll make sure to put that in the YouTube's description section. And as always, Onslaught Gaming 40K, where victory is just a strategy away. Burn, maim, kill, blood for the blood god. Ah!